Hello everyone, I'm Alex from alexlancer.com, and in our previous tutorial we finished our sign up process. So in this tutorial we are jumping straight into creating a login form, and we will see how we can log in our user using CodeIgniter 4 REST API server that we have set it up. This is our CodeIgniter project open here. We don't need it for now, so I will minimize it. This is our sign up form that we were testing. The validation also works fine. And because we already created an account, we can click here and go to our sign in. So to get the sign in form, let's go to Alex Lancer GitHub. And let's go to login tutorial, CodeIgniter 4 login. Let's go to app. Then go to views and go to login.php. So grab everything except the first and the last line. So from the line 2 till line 39, at least at this point that I'm viewing. Maybe later on when you're watching this video, this file might be slightly changed. So once you grab everything from the login.php form, let's go back to signin.view. And let's throw everything inside our template. What we have to do first of all is to remove this session that we are checking. We don't need it. And instead of our validation, of course, we will use our alert component that we have created in our previous tutorial that took us so much time. So let's go to sign up view and let's grab, actually we can take quite a few things actually from here. Anyway, let's take our alert and let's import it above. So let's set it up, components, alert. Now inside of our sign up component also, let's take the markup. Where did we put it? So our sign up alert, here is our alert at line 66 on my in my document. So, and we want to put it our login, so right in between the login button and the rest of the form. So we have to create again our message variable and class alert, so that by default will be null. So let's say data return, and what we will do here, let's set up message null and class alert also null. Okay, so now we will need an email that we will be logging in with. So by default it is an empty string, and of course our password, there is also an empty string by default. Let's create our method that we will attach later to the login form. So let's say methods login, or let's say sign in, just to keep things similar. Sign in, let's log sign in, and let's go to our form. Here at the very top, remove the class and say at submit dot prevent. So we want to prevent the default behavior, and we will say sign in method to call sign in method whenever the form gets submitted. Now, before we leave from here, let's remove this value and let's add instead of it the model equals to what it equals. It equals to email. And inside of our password, also the model equals to password. So now we have bind our inputs. We have our method, so let's just check if we have any errors and if everything works. So the login form looks just fine. So let's rename the login form with the sign-in form, because this is the name of our page. So this is a sign-in form and not a login form, right? Yeah. Email address, password, don't have an account yet. So don't have an account yet. Let's make it a router link that will go to sign up. And now this router link, just copy and paste it at the end of our router link. So don't have an account yet, already have an account, don't have, already have, and so on. Okay, let's go now and create and try to submit our form as it is, empty. So the sign-in console log works. It means that we can start adding our Axios functionality here. So what we want to do, first of all, let's actually take from the sign up everything that we can take to avoid typing all this stuff. So let's take everything, go to sign in component, to sign in method, and add everything inside here. So now remove append first name, last name, and remove append password confirm. We don't need it. Also inside the then method, remove this first name, this last name, and this password confirm. So you have been successfully logged in. We will generate this message just for now, because once we successfully log in, we will create a functionality that will redirect us to the admin page, to our dashboard, where we will see all of our posts. So for now, let's leave it just with the use of our alert box. Response data message error. This is right. Okay, let's give it a shot. Oh no, so it is not register. Back to our sign-in component. It is not a post/register, it is post/login, because we are calling a different endpoint. So let's try an empty string first. Getting nothing. I'm seeing an error here. So the grant type was not specified in the request. So in order to log in, instead of the email and password, we have to specify also the grant type. So this can be, of course, an empty a hidden field, because it is always the same, or we could even pass it through the filter in our CodeIgniter app, but it is much easier for me now to create it inside of our sign-in component, just by adding it as a third parameter to our form. So it will be grant type, and it equals to password. So this string has nothing to do with this string here. It is completely coincidence that the strings are matching. This field grant type is has nothing to do with this password strings here. So just keep this in mind. Now let's open again this console log here, this developer tools. Let's try to log in and see what we are getting now. Grant type, okay, so it is grant, not grand. And I lost my editor, so it is grant type. Again, so what it is this time? Okay, client credentials were not found in the headers or body. So again, by using the login method, if you have followed the previous tutorial on REST API when we tried to log in, so instead except the body parameters that we have set it up, we also created an authorization headers using basic auth, where we passed our client ID that we have specified in our database. So if you remember in the first video of this tutorial, we have created our .env files, and here is how using CodeIgniter, not actually CodeIgniter, how using Axios you can pass basic auth credentials. So here we have our post login endpoint, and what else we can do is inside of our, let's say here in the very beginning, we will say const auth equals const auth equals, let's say, username. So we will grab these variables from our .env file. So it is view app client ID. I think this is how we, yeah. And the other one will be the client secret. So this is our username, and this is our password. So client secret. And now we take this variable and we pass it as a third parameter inside of our auth as an auth object. So let's give it a try now. Let's clean everything up here, and once we log in, this client is invalid or must authenticate using a client secret. Okay, let me username, password, view app client ID, so we have an auth here, username, something is not right. View app client secret, yeah. So password, okay. Let's try again. So maybe it was just the typo. Missing parameters, username and password required. So now because these errors that we are getting, they are not directly from the CodeIgniter 4 library, but they are coming from the third-party library that we are using for our OAuth server. They're displayed a little bit different. Therefore, we will have to modify our error catching mechanism here. Instead of messages error, we will say error response data, error description. So let's see again, yeah, missing parameters, username and password required. So let's go now to our to use our real credentials, but I want to try once to add a wrong password. So missing parameters, so let me try. Let me refresh, try again. So testing, missing parameters, username, password required. So like it doesn't see the parameters that we are sending. Okay, and rightfully so. So the REST API server is not expecting for an email post variable, but rather for the username. So we have to specify our username as a post variable. So let me see where we can do that. Here where we append to the form, let's make this email, replace it with a username. Okay, so again once more. Okay, invalid username and password combination. So this is the correct message that I was looking for. Now it recognizes that the password is wrong, and I will type the correct password, and you have been successfully logged in. So actually now if we'll see this response here, you will see that we have our access token, expiration time, and so on. Okay, so we're done with our form. It is time to add our storage, to use Vuex to store our data, and let's see actually how we will handle this response now. So it is quite easy, but it needs some lines of code inside the VueJS. Okay, so at our then option here, first of all, so we don't need any more of this message, or actually we can leave it, but we will redirect anyway after. Yeah, let's just make it it will flash for a second before the user will get redirected. Sorry guys. So let's create some extra variables here in our data, and let's get a token that will be null by default, and we will have also expires that we will also set to the null by default. Now whenever we get the success method, the success response from our post request, we should expect to get back a data and not an empty object. So once we get this response, we know that now we have access to our token. So let's say this token equals res, which stands for response. So response data access token. The second parameter that I want to set up is, let's make this expires in. Okay, so let's go to again here, and let's say this expires in, and let's say because the response in our from CodeIgniter was access token and expires in. These are the two values that we are interested in. So therefore let's make the source data expires in, but let's multiply it by 1000. Yeah, not add, multiply it by 1000, because the response data expires in we are getting in seconds, but in JavaScript it is easier sometimes, especially when we need to compare time, it is easier to do it in milliseconds. Therefore I'll multiply it by 1000 so that 3600 becomes 3 millions, whatever. And so now that we have this thing here, or actually what we can do is we can say this expires in, let it be as it is, and we will create another variable expires a millisecond, that will be this expires in by 1000. Okay, so now we have both values. The next thing we need to do is, let's define one variable const now equals new date, and const expire date will be equal to new expire new date will equal to now get time plus expires ms. So we're getting the date. Once we are using the get time, it gets converted to the milliseconds. We add the milliseconds to the current time, and we know the expiration date of our token. So now what we can do is we can go to our local storage, set item. So the first item will be our token, which is obviously this token, and we have our local storage set item expires, let's say expires, and we will add the expire date here as a second parameter. So now what we want to do is we will have to start from this point on. We have to dispatch an event to our storage store.js, to our Vuex object, to say that we're actually getting logged in, because we have gathered all the information we need. We have been successful. We got our token. We know our expiration time. So now let's let me leave a comment here, and we will come back once we set up our store.js files. So store. So this is where we will call a dispatch method. Okay, so now let's create a new folder inside of our source file. New folder. Sorry, not source, store. Inside of our store, let's create a new file, store.js. So this store.js now might contain, actually, we will need here, as always, import view from view. The second one is import Vuex. This is what does all this magic to happen. This is what makes all of this work like magic. All of this store functionality, and import router also, because we want to redirect from within the storage file, and our routes are outside of the store folders. Therefore, I'm using 2 dots here to go one level back. Okay. So let's say view use Vuex. Okay, and now export const store equals new Vuex store, Vuex store, like that and like that. So now inside of our store object we will have a state object, we will have getters, we will have mutations, and we will have actions. So I will not cover all of them. If you are interested in more detailed tutorials on Vue.js, please let me know in the comments. But for now, we will continue on just by covering some of the features that we are doing. So in our state, what we are interested in is logged in. By default, it is equal false. So because it is equal false, whenever we use a getter, so to access this logged in variable inside of our state, we will not access it directly, but we will access it through the getter. So login state, so we pass state as a parameter inside, and we return state is logged in. So this is how we using this method we are accessing this variable and not directly. You will see how I will do it inside of our app component or sign-in component. We will see where we will need it. So now we need a mutation. So we'll make a mutation again with state, and let's say state is logged in equals true. And yeah, here where we will need a router. So what we will do here is we will say router. So once we are logged in, let's say router push, and we want to push it to the admin page, which, where we have specified that this will be our home page also. So router push. But in case we are there are times that we can actually be logged in, and actually no, there are times when the login process can be done while we are on the home page. For instance, if we refresh our page, all the state object goes to its default, but we will create a functionality on our in our parent component, the app.vue file, where before redirecting to the sign-in page or the home page, depending on the login state, we will check for the existing local storage variables, for instance the ones that we stored just now, to avoid users making unnecessary logins. So let's make, therefore the reason I was telling this is that we need to check if the route name, the actual route that we are now using, so it is route dot current route dot name is not equal home, then router push home. Otherwise we are already at the home page, so there is no need to do anything. Again, let's create right away here a logout mutation. Again, it is state. What we will need here, so let's say state is logged in equals false, but also what we want to do is we want to remove the local storage items. So we have local storage remove item token, and remove item expires. So, and here if we are logging out, we want router to push to the sign-in page. So if we are on the admin page or wherever in the protected area, for sure we will not be on the sign-in page. Therefore, once we click on the logout button, we can push our user to the sign-in page without worrying about this or similar check for the existing route. Okay. So that said, we have specified this. Now we have to create actually our action that will commit the mutation. So, guys, if you don't know what are mutations, actions, getters, and state, it is really hard to explain it in this video in the context of CodeIgniter 4 REST API series. So please let me know if you need help with this, and maybe I will create another video where I will talk more about state management in VueJS and generally more about VueJS. So let's first say login. We will pass the commit method inside, and we will pass one variable that we need. So this will be an expires in variable, and we will need this variable to set timeout. So we need set timeout, and this set timeout will be triggered in expires in amount of seconds. So what we want to do in 3600 seconds, we want to commit a logout. Okay, makes sense, right? So we are delaying our logout for the time equal to the lifespan of the access token. Okay, so once we have that, we have to commit, of course, the login itself. Okay, so the login has been committed, and now we do our logout. That also will accept a commit method, and now we want to commit a logout. So this is in case we want to log out right away. This is the method that will be dispatched, the action that will be dispatched. So back to our sign in. Now that we have our store prepared here, what we want to do is we want to go to our we remove this comment, we don't need this anymore, and we say this store dispatch. This is how we call the actions from our Vuex object. So dispatch a login, and we will say expires millisecond where we created it, where it is, so this one here, and we pass it like that. So now if we save this, let's give it a try. So first of all, let's check our application local storage. Let me delete everything from my test that I've been doing previously. Sorry guys. And let me try and log in again. So I'm using test at alexlancer.com. Password is password. So if you are using the same database as I do, you will have all of this also the same. So login, user has been logged in successfully. We have our token, correct, we have expires, okay, and the problem is in our sign in line 89, so cannot read property data. Sign in line 89, sorry. Okay, 89. Yes, but what is the problem then? If we are successful, if we have got everything here, I think maybe something wrong with our dispatch here. Dispatch expires ms. Okay, so because we are not getting any errors right now, let's display just log. Let's refresh. Undefined. But the error response was undefined. Okay, so let's do that without response. Let's just display our error. Let's define our error. Back to browser. Invalid username and password combination. Okay, sorry, password. Okay, so cannot read property dispatch of undefined. Yes, so it cannot read it because in our main.js file we did not import yet the store.js object, and to do that we go to our main.js and right here below, let's say import store from store. Okay. Yeah, and let's add it also here as an object. Store. This looks fine. So what? Let's try now. If you go test Alex, again password, and as you can see now we have been redirected. So the one thing I noticed right away, we don't change, we did not change, actually we did change, but something's going on here and it is not changing. I'm talking about the Navbar. So inside of our app.vue file we have our app nav. Okay, let's go to our navigation component, and where we say logged in. So logged in is a prop that we are sending to our nav.vue. Okay, let's go to our app.vue file, back, and actually we never pass it. It is always not it is always false. So is logged in, correct? No, logged in. Okay, so let's say logged in equals logged in, but now we have to create this logged in value, and if we just pass it as a data object like that, it will work only once. But because we want it to be we wanted to change on the fly, just as once the state changes, at the same time we want this value also to be changed. Therefore we will not return it in a data object, but rather we will create a computed value, a computed object, where we will create the exactly same name of the function that will return. This will return this store getters, and now we will be able to use our getter in order to access the login store object. So login state, this store getters login state. So let's see what happens now. Okay, at least it has changed. So what's going on here? Let's see. Nav item, nav link, active. Okay, something is missing. Yeah, I think the class from the UL object is missing, from the UL tag. So if we go back to our nav.view, we have to add this same class to this UL here. And this should fix any issues that we have. And also I see that our logout link is just a link. So let's say logout. And okay, so once we refresh, we lose the state of the login button, of the login variable. So as I said, in our app.view, what we can do is on the once the app has been loaded, we can use the life cycle of created. So this is the function that will be executed once the component app has been created. And what we can say here, let's also create two constants. So the expires constant, that will be local storage get item expires. Now let's get also our token. And what we can say here is if these two values actually exist, then we can run some methods and validate if they are valid or not. So for sure, if any of these values do not exist, if at least one of them does not exist, then there is nothing to check anymore, except if, let's say, this route will be sign in. If this route will not be a sign in route, then we want to use this router push let's use a name here, name sign in. So how we check the current route? We say that this router current route dot name is not equal to sign in. So if it is not equal to sign in, then please redirect us to sign in, because we are logged out. And okay, we get an error here, empty block statement, no empty. App.view 27. Okay, so it gives us an error because of the empty if block here. Now, in case we have both of the values, we have to check first of all if it is an expired value, if it is an expired session or not. token, sorry, not session. So to do that, what we can say is var, again we will use our milliseconds, var expires ms equals new date expires, so this date here that we got from our local storage. We can say var var now equals new date, so we will get now time, and we can say that now equals now get time. And expires ms equals expires ms get time. So we have converted both of our dates into millisecond values, and we can say now if now is greater than expires ms, then please this store dispatch a logout commit. So if you remember, a logout action. If you remember, we have created a logout action also. So dispatch logout. That's it. I don't think we need any parameters here, but in case expires is greater than now, then we have to dispatch a login action, and the login action will get as a second parameter the difference between expires ms and now, so that we can set up our set timeout function. If you remember the auto logout mechanism that we have created here. So this value will be the difference between the future date and the future time, date and time, and the now, the current time. So basically now if we go to our admin and we refresh, we should be navigated back to our admin page, and the navbar should change also as it would be a logged in method, as it would be once we log in. So again, we are getting this error empty block statement. I think we did not save something, yeah, our app.vue. So now everything looks fine. And if we refresh again, nothing happens. So let's try our login. I don't like this, that we don't have a pointer at our nav logout. And we don't have a pointer, I guess because we don't have href at least something here, right? Yeah, so if I click logout, nothing happens. Awesome. Click prevent and go to logout. Yes, because now we should dispatch again this logout action that we have in our nav component. So instead of console log logout, let's add the stored dispatch logout. So logout, perfect. And if we go to sign in, test, logged in. So guys, our login system is ready, our sign up system is ready, and the only thing is left is to manage our posts that we can get from our protected resource from CodeIgniter for REST API server. So see you in the next video.